It's that time again.
Yep. We are Team West Herr.
And you are the most important thing to us.
Team West Herr
Podcast. It's all about the team.
Welcome back to the Team West Herr Podcast. I'm Brad Gelber, and we are here for Season 4 of the Team West Herr Podcast. We're joined today by a very special guest, Ray Davis, Buffalo running back. Ray, thanks for being here.
I appreciate you for having me.
Yeah, so before we get into this, kind of a secret agenda here for the folks listening and watching. Ray actually isn't just going to be a guest on today's podcast. He's going to be the new co-host extraordinaire of the Team West Herr Podcast here for this season. So we're super excited to have you, Ray. It's honestly a cool honor to have you come onto the podcast this season.
No, this is cool. You know, definitely excited that the cat's finally out the bag and I can finally brag about being part of the Team West Herr podcast. So, you know, it's good to be here. It's good to be able to talk a lot of different things with you and just to see some beautiful faces besides my teammates.
Yeah, for sure. So for the people listening, watching, last season, Reed Ferguson, your teammate, was the co-host. Reed had some family obligations this season that we're going to tie him up a little bit. I think he's already announced his wife's welcoming a new baby to the family. So huge congratulations to Reed. Super good guy. I love having him around. But that does open the door for a new face, and that's your face. So for the people listening, watching, I think it's a cool story. I think how this sort of happened. You were actually, which we're going to get into later when we talk about your community involvement and work, you were speaking at an event locally here, and I happened to just be there because West Herr was a sponsor of the event. And obviously I knew of you as a player, and I had heard and read a lot of amazing things about your journey and your past. But then getting to see you speak in person for the first time, honestly, you're a tremendous public speaker. Like I saw you go up there and they sort of, you jokingly said like, I'll try to keep this brief because, you're at an event. People don't necessarily want to hear someone talk for half an hour, but you got rolling and like your story is so compelling, but the way you delivered it too, you captivated the room. I talked to multiple people. They all said the same thing. And I was like, you know what? Like, this guy would be awesome if I could find a way to get him to come on the podcast, and reached out to you on Instagram and talked to your agent, and it all kind of worked out and came into place. And then I found out you had some experience podcasting in the past, so it was maybe just one of those things where it was a meant to be type of thing. But yeah, like maybe tell us briefly, like you have some podcasting experience in your past there? Yeah,
I did a little bit, throughout my time in college. I got to host my own podcast, got to do some interviewing in high school. I had my own radio show. Cool. So I've always been interested in just being behind the mic, but also just delivering a story. Kind of goes a little bit back to like the speech. It's like the way you deliver a story, that's how you're going to impact the room. And when you have the ability to be with the mic and sit there and give your story, give your testimony, but to have people listen because you want them to do something with it. So when I had the ability to do it when I was young, and now being able to have the opportunity again to do it now, I was like, I couldn't turn up the opportunity and to be here and just to get to meet people, talk to people, but just to know that my voice and my words could travel and be of some importance to somebody. So that's why I've always loved doing it. I'm happy to be doing it again. Shout out to Reed for letting me just take the spot for a little bit.
Yeah. Do you get nervous? Because like it's a different thing. I get asked that a lot just when I speak, whether it's on this or depending where it is. But like you play in front of thousands of people, right? But and I've talked to players before. Some guys find you have your helmet on, you're in the zone, you're in a game. It's a different feeling than when you're in a intimate room where people are all sort of just staring at you and behind a microphone. Like, is it a different feeling? Do you kind of get into the same mindset? Like, how does that work for you?
It's definitely weird in the beginning. Crazy thing is no one really knows this, but like I don't even like public speaking. I didn't like it in the beginning just because it was like you don't know how people are going to react to what you say, and are they going to be able to really engage with the message you're trying to get across. But over time, I got used to it. When I was a kid, I had to speak in front of judges and social workers and attorneys, to where once I was like, all right, I got the ability to speak in front of them, I can speak in front of the whole world now. So I think the nerves went away when I was younger, and now that I don't really have that much nerves now, it's about just making sure I don't stutter or say too many times. Yeah.
I have to imagine too, it's cool when you're in a setting like that where you're telling your story, and you said, you worry if people are going to connect to it or relate, but when you can tell the room is really feeling what you're saying, I think at least, I would imagine that's kind of when you feel like, okay, I can really open up here because I can tell these people appreciate kind of what I'm talking about.
Yeah, when I'm looking out, I just see a couple head nods. I'm like, all right,
I'm good.
I must
good
be
now.
doing something right.
Yeah.
You don't see a bunch of no's or putting their heads down.
Or their phones up or whatever.
You're seeing people engaged. So that's when I was like, all right, I must be doing something good. My message is getting across. And then obviously, when you leave those events and you have people reaching out and just telling you, the things that they took away from that, that's really when okay, I'm doing something here and the message is getting to where it needs to get through. But at the same time, there's people who sit there and it's like, this guy's talking a little bit too long, and so you got to crack a couple jokes here and there to keep them engaged. But I try to mix it up.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so that's kind of the story of how we got here. I want to talk about your journey, just because, like I said, it's powerful, it's inspiring, it's interesting. It's not maybe the typical story you hear. I know everyone has a different journey in life, but yours is obviously unique. So, starting way back, I was curious. So everyone calls you Ray, but that's not your full name. So how was it? Just because it kind of sound like Ray is part of your name? How did everyone just start calling you Ray? Was it just easier because everyone would mispronounce your actual name?
Would, they couldn't spell it right.
Well, tell us what's your actual name?
I got to give out my government name here. All right, Raymond.
Okay,
it's Raymond.
Okay.
When I was in middle school, high school, growing up, everybody called me Ramen.
Okay.
Or Raheem.
Yeah.
Or Raymond. And I'm it's nowhere near close to any of that, right? So I shortened it down to Ray, and I give a quick short story. Freshman year, ESPN asked our coaches and stuff what do they want to be announced by when they went on television.
Sure.
I sat there for 10 minutes screaming Ray Davis. It sounds like such a football name. I just kept screaming it over and over. I'm like, you know what? Just call me Ray and just leave it. And now when people address me, it's like Ray Davis, and I'm like, you could just say Ray.
You don't have to say my full name.
So but that's how it came to be, and I shortened it down. But the real people call me Raymond, mostly my family.
Yeah, that's cool. No, so we talked about your experience podcasting already. You did some of that, but I guess your journey started way back. So obviously you're originally from the San Francisco area, right?
Best city in the world.
Yeah.
Best city in the world.
Second to Buffalo, though.
1A, 1B.
We got it.
1A, 1B. 1A, 1B. But yeah, born and raised in the great city of San Francisco.
So back in the day, I was sort of reading about some articles and things talking about your past. So if any of these are wrong, just correct me. Yeah. But it talked about, early on, you had some pretty big football expectations way back to even dating to when you were 9 years old. Because your dad was a bit of a local football legend, right? So tell us a little bit about that. Because I think, some people, it's definitely, you sometimes live in that shadow, I guess, in a bit. If your parent did some notable things in the area. So for you, your dad was a pretty big football name locally.
Yeah, me and my dad always joke now, but back in the day, my dad was a Josh Allen of Buffalo.
Yeah.
He always says that, right? And he just was a legend. He was a guy that everybody was just so talking about every time they saw me. I was little Ray, he was big Ray, right? Sure. And it was, your dad did this, your dad did that. So at 9, I'm like, I gotta be like him.
Right.
I gotta, the standard he set, I gotta meet it. And an average 9-year-old shouldn't have to live like that, but that's what it was, right? It was kind of a make or break situation. So it just made me love the game 10 times more. And so when I didn't do well, I was more harder on myself at 9 than a probably average 9-year-old, just because you were living up to a local legend. And I was always trying to be better than him. At that time, I didn't know him, so I was like, you know what? Everybody else knows him. I want to be better than him.
And for you, so football was sort of just in your blood, basically, you loved it from the onset, or was it one of those things where, it was more because you knew your dad played, that's how you kind of got introduced to football?
Nah, I was a soccer kid and a baseball kid growing up. Truth be told, I was really good. I was the Messi of my neighborhood, and I was the Derek Jeter of
All-star.
Yeah. So I was really good at that, and I wanted to do baseball, and then football just kind of kept opening doors and opportunities. And I started to see, okay, maybe my path is football, and I kind of stuck with it. But I was sad to let go of baseball. I was sad to let go of some of the other sports because I felt that I was good at it, but if I knew I wanted to go to college and get a degree, it was probably best I'd have a ball in my hand and run it instead of trying to catch it or or hit one.
I will ask you one question though that I've heard a lot of athletes talk about how important it is for young kids to be in multi-sports, right? Like don't necessarily from a young age just focus on one sport, get your hands in a bunch of different stuff and try a lot of things because it makes you eventually a better player. Do you agree with that, or do you think it is okay, like just focus on one thing?
I 1,000% agree that you should, be multi-talented in all areas. And I think when you play multiple sports, it teaches you different, hand-eye coordination, so where you can succeed in somewhere else, right? Like for baseball, having that reaction time. Like I played third base.
Yep.
You get a line drive,
right
like
down.
you gotta have that reaction time to get it. Now that can go into football, right? I got a guy in the A gap, I gotta jump to the B gap quickly. So everything just translate. Track, basketball. There's so many different sports that translate to the primary sport that you're playing. Yep. So when you're young, you want to do everything because you want a coach to come and be like, well, there's too many Scott. Like you can play a lot of things,
pick
right?
What you want.
Pick which one you want. You never want to sit there and go, well, you're only good at this thing, and we got 5 other guys in that scholarship position, and it's sorry. So I tell people all the time, play as many sports as you want. You'll figure out the one you're really good at, and you'll know when the time is to focus on that. It's the time to focus on that.
For sure. So jumping forward a little bit, your mom had you when she was 15, I believe, correct? Mm-hmm. So your parents had a bit of a rough past. I think you've talked about that before. So one thing I thought you spoke on this, and it was part of your speech that I heard. You were sort of forced to become a man at 12 years old, which is just a lot to wrap your head around probably for anyone. And I know you said even for yourself looking back on that, it's still sort of crazy to think that. So maybe just speak to us as much as you feel comfortable with about that sort of journey, like how you were faced with that and how you kind of learned and overcame adversity from that point in your life.
Yeah, the cards, we were dealt with wasn't necessarily in our favor growing up. For my mom being so young, and by the time she hit her mid 20s to have 3 kids, and we're living on Section 8, we're pretty much barely eating. There were just so many things that didn't go in our favor, and that didn't go the right way. And at that time, we didn't have the right resources or the support to be like, keep going, keep believing. And at 12, I had to be that person. I had to be like, you know what, we got to keep this thing going. We got to be able to have that support we need. And when we got put in a position to be in the foster care system and go to the homeless shelter, and I had to make that decision to say, hey, I want my sister and my brother to live their life and experience things that they didn't get to experience, right? And I'd rather go through the trials and tribulations and them not have to face that. And it made me a man. It made me who I am today, but it also made me a man at the age of 12 because no child should have never made that decision, right? It was like letting your kids go. Right. And yeah, they were brothers and sisters, but for so long I felt like they were my kids because I would make sure my sisters going to school, try to braid her hair, getting my brother food. Like there were just so many things I had to do from the age of 8 to 12 that there was no childhood for me. And now I look back at it, and there's times where I'm like, dang, I wish I never did have to go through that, but I'm proud of it because I wouldn't be able to give what I know now to somebody else and tell you that there will be hard times. But if you stay the course, which is so cliche to say, but if you believe in yourself and always bet on yourself, you could achieve whatever you want. Right. And that's the motto I try to continue to live by, and that goes into what I experienced when I was younger.
Do you, were you able to sort of reconnect with your siblings later on in life? Because I know I remember I was talking to someone about your journey, and they asked me that, and I was like, I don't know if that's the fact. I would hope, but I don't know.
Yeah, over time throughout the years, I was able to get closer to them. My younger brother is probably way taller than me now, like 6 foot. And my sister's working, and they're living their best lives. They're still young. We keep in contact. It's definitely hard just because you have to make up some years, right? I think same thing I went through with my father and my mother, where you have to make up some years, so they're not going to always be so open right away. But that's just the way life is, and you got to rock at their pace. And when they're ready, they're ready. And but I love them, and they love me, and they know we're stuck together forever.
For sure.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing like family, but that's a pretty incredible story. So every time I hear it, I can't imagine at that young of an age, kind of being an adult like you had to be. But the kind of the next chapter, I guess, in your life after that was I was reading about how you actually ended up living with your teacher in high school. That's right? So and that's sort of, I guess, where you found some of that stability and were able to kind of get dedicated to sports. So talk a little bit about that, because that seemed like it kind of helped open the doors that then took you through to the next chapter of your life?
Yeah, Ben and Alexa. Ben was my 3rd grade teacher, also my 5th grade teacher. Alexa worked at the school, and we were in contact during my younger days, elementary school. Kind of fell out a little bit towards middle school, but reconnected when I had called him randomly, like one night. Recognized his number, has the easiest number in the world. I tell him that all the time, and I'm like, I got nowhere to go. Yeah. Like, can I just come there for a couple days, whatever the case may be? He hung up. He called about maybe 5 minutes later and said, they're bringing you tomorrow. Yeah. And at that point, I realized, okay, this might be the first person who knows that there is still some fight left in me, right? And I stayed with him all throughout high school, the back end of middle school to my freshman year, and we've been so close. They have taught me a lot of things before I really met the more resourceful people during the time. Yeah. But they really believed that there was another Ray. Yeah. When I didn't believe there was another Ray, and I'm forever grateful for them. I love their family, love their daughter. They were here for a game. So to continue to build that relationship, because they stepped in when I needed them, and I want to be able to someday step in when they need me.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, I got like legit goosebumps like hearing that. That's super cool. That it kind of gave you, like you said, someone recognized that potential before you could see it in yourself, because I think everyone needs someone like that in their life, whether it's a big part or a little part of your life. Like you don't know that decision in that moment can set all these other things in motion. And who knows like where you would be or not if that wasn't the case. But, that kind of helped establish the Ray Davis we know now, which is incredible.
Yeah, I'm trying to get better every day.
Yeah, for sure. So fast forward past that, your next chapter is college. So I thought this was a little interesting. So, is it, so you ended up going to boarding school, is that correct?
Went to boarding school for high school.
Okay.
Upstate, well, they consider upstate New York. I don't know what anything is.
We say Western here. I guess people get offended if you say upstate, but in this area of New York. Western. So you were further the other way.
Like where New York City was, we're about 2 hours north of it. So I went there, all boys boarding school, great time. Yep. Taught me a lot of different life lessons, and I got to just be myself, right? Sure. Like I was already independent. I'm away from home and playing ball and just enjoying the great winters of New York. So
so you were already kind of
I got that super early. Got that. A California kid, first year in the snow, I can tell you I had one jacket.
Okay.
One jacket. That was it. I wore that thing every day.
Yeah. And what about, like, we've joked a lot with the guys, because, you guys end up with, in the pros, a lot of guys from the South or the West Coast. And it's just like, they get, maybe they went to school out there, and then their first introduction to the winter is really like when they get drafted or whatever. And, there's some players who handle it better than others, I'm sure but for you coming to Buffalo, were you sort of like, nah, I got this, like I'm good? Or were you sort of like, oh man, I don't know if I'm ready for that cold?
In that aspect, I would call myself a 10-year vet, because when you go to school in the colleges I went at, you experience some cold and snowy winters, nothing crazy as Buffalo, but I'm a seasoned vet. I knew by that time, make sure I got my jackets, my gloves. I knew how to shovel I was
so
fine.
You were good.
I was good. Shout out to my neighbors for getting me out.
All right. So college we were talking about. So you ended up going to Temple, Vanderbilt, and Kentucky. Those are the 3 schools. So kind of to walk me through that, because that's obviously not super typical either to be at 3 different schools. So how did that kind of happen? Were there just, the opportunities kept presenting itself to play and get kind of spotlighted, and that was what you were trying to do? Or like, what was the whole story behind that?
It is actually typical nowadays.
Okay.
Everyone's
that is
in
true.
The portal.
The transfer portal. Everyone's
people are going to 4 schools now.
That's true.
It's normal. You don't got to bash, but no. It was a good time. It was one of those moments where I just had to keep betting on myself, and it wasn't the norm at that time where you keep transferring schools. So I dealt with a lot of backlash. Like I dealt with, is he committed? Yep. Is he afraid of competition? Can he stick with the team? It was so many backlashes behind it, and I'm like, I'm just betting on myself because I know I got more in the tank. And great freshman year at Temple, stayed there through COVID. Just realized it was kind of time to have a fresh start and try to really see if I can make it to the NFL. Right. Went to Vandy, obviously the SEC, and I knew, hey, if football doesn't work out, at least I'm going to fall back on a top 15, college degree, right, which I was able to graduate and get. So throughout my time there, I had a really good year, season-ending surgery, first season there, went through depression. just battled a lot of different demons and, had a decent 2022 year. And I was like, I'm not done yet.
Yeah.
Like, I know that I got this last little bit in the tank to shock the world,
Sure.
which I put that on social media.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm going to shock the world. And I go to Kentucky and I just had a moment where things were just, hey, it's fight or flight, and we got to go and do something. And it led me to Buffalo. So it was a good choice to go 3 different schools. Maybe on paper, not really, but to myself, I knew that I had to keep believing and betting on myself every time.
For sure. So Kentucky being the last stop, was it like, what was it about Kentucky? Were they just the ones to make you the offer? Or were you sort of like, you knew that was the right fit? Because like being the last stop before potentially going to the NFL, like that's a big decision. It seems like, okay, I got to make the right choice here if I'm going to actually make it to the next level.
I knew going to Kentucky, I could write my own legacy.
Yeah.
Like, they had multiple backs back in the day who, Benny Snell, Chris Rodriguez, Boone Williams, like they had guys who developed, carved out a type of role for themselves to be that guy. And I knew, all right, well, let me go and try to rewrite history.
Yeah, that's cool.
I love when everything, my back against the wall and everyone's kind of doubting me, because I'm like, I'm going to go in and rewrite history to where when I leave this place, and you're not going to only be talking about those 3, but you're going to have to include Ray at some point, right? And that's kind of why I chose Kentucky. And plus my sister went to college there. She came with me. Cool. So being able to bring her to college with me was pretty fun. We lived together and got to experience her first time being at a real university. So it was so many eye-opening moments where this is the spot to be, and then I was able to again have a good season. But if it wasn't for the people around me at that time, my sister, my family, and my teammates, and just Kentucky as a whole, Lexington as a city, it would have been a very, very hard time. So I appreciate everybody who made that journey into a good journey.
For sure. So after college, obviously the next step is the NFL, and that's kind of how you ended up in Buffalo. So you were drafted by the Bills in the 4th round, obviously the 2024 draft. Thinking back on that moment, still, I have to imagine, for anyone, it's the ultimate moment, right? Like that's what you've been working for tirelessly. All the stuff no one sees, all the hours in the gym, practicing, all the hours of film study and looking at the playbook, the stuff that, I think maybe average fans don't always appreciate. They just think you guys are like robots. You're just conditioning all the time, and then you're out in the football field. But there's all this stuff that like goes into it, right? Yeah. And then for you on top of it, your journey to even like get to that point. So thinking back to the night you got drafted, is it still like a little surreal to you, or like how does it feel when you look back on that?
I mean, it was a stressful day. It was. I mean, it was an amazing day. In terms of when I got the call and I was able to celebrate with my family and have everybody there. But like you say, no one knows where you're going.
You didn't have any. Did you have any inclination at the time?
Not at all. I just woke up and just was like, let's party.
Yeah.
And let's hope that I get this phone call at some point. So it was stressful, but it was a blessing to be able to be with the family. It was a blessing to be able to even get that call where, the Bills believed in me and gave me that opportunity to just have that day. Yeah. But people also got to understand that even going undrafted,
sure,
they have a bigger chip on their shoulder, right? Yeah. It's hard to enjoy that day because you anticipate the call, and when you don't get it, you have that sense of like, I don't belong, right? Yep. And that was the mindset I had regardless if I was going to get drafted or not, where I want people to know I do belong and I can come and provide a spark. And, throughout that time, we thought I was going to go a lot earlier. It obviously didn't. And I just felt in this moment here, this is another moment of let's shock the world.
Sure.
And, and that day was mixtures of good, bad, and I got to go prove everybody wrong.
For sure. Did you have any, and maybe you've talked about this before, but were there any other teams like you were sort of talking to that you thought, oh, maybe I'll end up here or there, and then you were surprised they didn't call you type of thing?
Yeah, I met with probably 31 of the 32 teams. I took 6 official visits. Okay. So me and my agent at that time felt that like potentially almost every team except for one was super interested. Yeah. So we didn't really know where I was going to fall. We just hoped that there were some teams we definitely liked out there that we thought could contribute, and the Bills are one of them, and we just didn't know. And once we found out that it was the Bills, we were like, let's check that one off the list.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
It was good. It was good.
It's interesting because I remember when you were drafted, obviously, James Cook was sort of the starter in the role, and they had Ty Johnson there, and you were picked. I know you said you felt hopefully higher, but 4th round was I think for some people they were surprised maybe the Bills took a running back there, and obviously you proved a lot. If anyone doubted you, you had a fantastic rookie year. So, but just the fact that running back's sort of this, I'd say a controversial position maybe right now in the NFL, and I'm sure you've been asked about this or your feelings on it, but it's almost sometimes unfairly. And I remember I talked to James about this. He was on the podcast last season. It's sort of like this weird thing where it's like, oh well, I don't need to pay the running back, right? Like the next guy, we'll just draft him, he'll come in, and it's sort of like, as important of a position as it is, it's almost like disregarded in some aspects because it's like replaceable, which isn't probably true. Obviously, you guys have your own skill sets. But then you talk about certain positions, it's like, oh, well, we got to pay this guy because he's really good at this position. So does that just give you another chip on your shoulder? Like you keep talking, it sounds like these aspects of your life where you've proved people wrong, right? And just being at a position maybe that's somewhat disregarded at times, at least from a payment standpoint, probably.
Yeah, the biggest thing I can say is you got to control what you can control, right? What you do on Sundays will dictate what you deserve to be paid. Yep. And, over time, people felt that running backs didn't deserve that. But I think as you can continue to see in this day and era, you got Saquon, you got Derrick Henry, you got Jonathan Taylor, you got all these top backs. Like, look what James just did, right? Yeah. Like, you got guys who are proving to you, I can do this. Yep. Just because you maybe look at my position as not a high value position, sure, I'm going out there and still putting up numbers and showing you that, you need me because I'm an asset to this game, right? Sure. So the most we could say as running backs is we just got to control what we can control. We don't control contract talks. We don't control who deserves this, who deserves that. You control what you do and however you paint your pictures and they look at the value of what you're doing. That's all that matters. So, but as a running back myself, I'm glad to see some people getting recognitions. I'm hoping other people get recognitions and they get what they deserve. Yeah, for sure. Growing up, like I know you said you were sort of into baseball first and all this. Did you watch football though? And if so, did you have like a favorite player growing up? Did you watch any of the like legendary running backs, or maybe once you became a running back yourself, you went back and watched some of those guys like the legends? Yeah, I'm debating if I even want to admit my favorite team or who I was watching, but I was a Giants. I'm a Giants fan. I don't know if that would really offend too many people around here. I was waiting for you to say something else. Yeah, I was a Giants fan, so I used to love watching like Ahmad Bradshaw, Brandon Jacobs. Like they had some dogs back in the day, and then obviously looking the legends, Shady McCoy, Chris Johnson. There, I can go on and on. Maurice Jones-Drew. That's a good friend of mine, a family friend of mine. So just seeing what the legends were doing back in the day, and think about. I never thought like I could be there though. Sure. Like that was never my dream to be there. It was just like, oh, I just want to run the ball like them, right? So looking at that now, and then looking back at it, like we had some goats back in the day who were doing things. Adrian Peterson, guys coming off torn ACLs, running for 2,000 yards. Like we have some dogs. So that's why it goes back to the conversation of like. It's hard to devalue a position when we got a lot of legends, still living legends who paved the way, and then we got future legends who are doing it now. So as I watch back then, even watching now, I got Saquon, I got a lot of these guys who are just proving that that being a running back is fun. It's cool. You want to play running back. So What about since you came to Buffalo? Have you been able to connect with Thurman or any of the guys that were sort of like the Bills legends at running back? Yeah, it was so crazy to see. I think it was, I don't know what game it was, but I'm warming up and I turn around and Thurman's wearing a 22 jersey. Nice. And I'm like, oh, it's probably like Fred Jackson or something, and like somebody else, Damon Harris, and I'm like, oh, he turns around, I'm like, oh, it's me. I was like, that's crazy, right? Yeah. Like when I got drafted, someone, I don't know why anybody would have compared me to that legend, but somebody was like, oh, you kind of remind me of Thurman. Yeah. And then to see him wearing my jersey, I'm like, damn, like, that's like a cool moment to see somebody who did it at a high level, and what he did for Buffalo during his tenure here with those guys. It just showed that again, that, dreams do come true about meeting your future idols and seeing the support that they have for you. Yeah. What about given your size, right? Because you're a different sized running back. Like you're, I'm around the same height, so I can say I'm a proud short king. You're a little shorter. I'm a proud short king. So, but you're
jacked. I'll say like you're a big dude, right? Like you're so like in that role though, right? Where did you feel like you had extra doubt, like, oh man, he's not big enough to play in the NFL type of thing, or did you feel like your style kind of like dictated that was fine? It didn't really matter about the height because you could just bowl dudes over.
It was weird. Like when I was going through my pre-draft process, I think that's when people were like, oh, like he's short and stocky and like a 3-down back and run through people, and I was like, yeah, I never heard that throughout like my college career in general. Like I felt that I could bring a different type of asset to the game. But like I said, I'm a proud short king. You know, we get the job done on 3rd and 1s. Guys had to come down to our level. You know, those 6-foot linebackers, 6-foot safeties. Down, like you got to come to me. And now we're on the same height.
Fair advantage.
So we'll see who got the power. So but yeah, I never felt doubted because I was undersized or, you know, some people tend to call me a little chunky every now and then, but it never. So
mine was more compliment.
Yeah, it was more compliment. I typically get the chunky and bulky. So, but it gets the job done. Listen, 3rd and 1, we're going to go get the first down for you.
I love it. So one other thing I read too, I don't know if this is like safe for the cameras, but David Edwards last year kept calling you the Stallion. So like, where did that come from? Like this nickname? Is it an appropriate story or like what is it?
I'll leave that for me and Dave. Okay. I love the nickname. I merged it. So but yeah, I'll leave that for Dave. Dave could explain that one. I love the nickname though. Trust me. The Stally is a great nickname. All
right. So we'll keep that one on the low down there. Community work, big part of who you are. I think it's a big part of West Herr and what we do here. Obviously, very involved in the community through West Herr Cares, our nonprofit division here within West Herr. But like I said, kind of where I got to see you speak was because of your community work. I know you're a big part of Big Brothers Big Sisters. I believe you were recently inducted into the Hall of Fame there. So talk a little bit about that, because you're a young guy and you're already kind of making your presence felt not only on the field but off the field. So tell us a little bit about that.
I appreciate the young guy comment, because I feel like I'm old half the time. I got some greatness coming in a beard. But it's a surreal moment to even be inducted into the Hall of Fame for Big Brothers Big Sisters, just because you know, what they did for me when I was young and seeing just the memories that they gave, and got to meet my big and be so close to them, I think for the past 17 years. So to know that I could represent that organization well, and they believe in me to go out and speak highly of them, and to get people to keep engaging and wanting to join mentorship. So to see that they put me in the Hall of Fame, it was wild. It was one of those like, oh, is this really happening kind of moments. But I love being a part of it. I love being able to speak and advocate for them. But also, I just want to show people that there is a success. You know, like there is a successful story, right? And sometimes we don't really get to see a lot of them because people tend to put the failures out there more. But there is success when you come out of that program. There is success when you meet a mentor who really wants to impact your life. And people should know that. People should understand that what you do could be a true testament to a child, to an adult, to anyone that you wanted to bring value to. So to understand how big that is, and how big, you know, the waiting list is of young men, you know, young girls who are waiting to meet someone who cares and who wants to see them grow and help them to a path that they didn't think they probably could reach. So we continue to put that out there. I'm going to continue to advocate to the day they tell me stop, and I don't know if that'll ever happen. So you know, I'm happy that moment happened for me and for my family and for everyone who's been a part of it.
Were you actually in Big Brother Big Sisters, or when you were younger?
Yeah, so I love telling a story more than I tell other stories, but I was 8 years old. I'm in the Big Boys and Girls Club, walking up the steps, and I see a flyer, and it was like, if you want a big brother or whatever, call. So I called, and I'm on the phone. I'm like, yo, like where's my big? Like, what's going on? And they had to take all this information. I was on a waiting list for X amount of whatever days, weeks, months. And I finally got to meet Patrick. Okay. And I'm 8 years old. We have like this funny picture of me doing the bunny ears behind him. And that was like one of the best moments and best days of my life, just because I got to meet somebody who had no relations to me. But wanted to see a smile on my face. And but I was in it from 8 till 18, and then I'm still with Patrick to this day.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Has he come to Buffalo for a game? Yeah.
I did my calls, my cleats for Big Brothers Big Sisters. So we got Patrick and his whole family to come out. Very cool. And it was a Niners game, so it was kind of crazy. Like it's hometown. He's a Niners fan. It was snowing that game, so they got the real Buffalo experience. Nice. So that was really, I think that was God being like, here's your moment.
Was he a Bills fan just for that game at least?
He's a Bills fan forever now.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, there's no if just for that game.
Perfect.
He's a Bills fan forever.
So then also, obviously, you've done some work on the mental health side of things, and then also like foster care advocate as well. So talk a little bit about that, because, you mentioned even for yourself, you've dealt with some mental health issues as well when you were in college, and I know you spoke on that at the event we were at. So tell us a little bit about that side of things.
Yeah, I mean, mental health is very crucial and very important, not just as an athlete, but, a young man, even a man becoming older, right? Like, you go through so many things, and what I was taught was to internalize that, to keep it down, and don't share it. It's weakness, right? Or you could handle it yourself. And for so long, I went by that, and I realized it was destroying me. It was hurting me on the inside, because I had all this built up anger and aggression. I felt that everybody was against me. I felt nobody loved me. And when I finally asked for help and I finally started to open up, I started to see the changes in myself, but also the changes around my community and my circle. I was no longer around people who was bringing negativity to me. Sure. I was around people who brought positivity, right? And that goes a long way just in that mental health base, because if you don't feel right and the people around you don't feel right, then you're going to question everything that you got going on. And then also as an athlete, most people think professional athletes or college or younger, that's all that is to life. That is to life for us. That's all we do is play sports. Like, no, we got a life on the outside, right? Like,
we're human beings.
We're human beings. We have feelings. There's things that we can't say, things that we have to watch out for. There's just so many if, buts, and whats where that affects us mentally. And we have to feel like now we have to go harder to prove something, but we're realizing we're stepping out of our comfort box. And having being, an award winning, obviously the Mental Health Advocacy Award this year, it just showed that my work is slowly starting to become noticeable, right? And I'll be honest, I'm happy I received the award, but there was an individual by the name of Alec Anderson who I think has brought a lot of awareness to Buffalo, and just a lot of awareness to himself of how important it is. So I'm saying this now, I share that award with him. Nice. It's a co-award winner, just because what he's doing and what we have aligned together is so monumental. So to see him advocating for mental health, to see me getting in that field too, it's only going to add more and more people to want to change the narrative of how people view mental health. And then learning about the CASA program, the court-appointed special advocates, that was new to me at that time. I learned about it. But I wish that was everywhere. I had a mentor. I had an appointed kind of supervisor who would take me out and hang out with me and teach me some stuff. Sure. But to know that these people are in the homes, these are regular civilians who want to see, fairness and the right treatment towards kids, and making sure they're in the right mental space, but also in the right home space, is super big, because we're getting someone who has, that's not biased, that's not in the system, and that's not working for the system, but someone who can see both sides of it, right? And the treatment towards kids, but also the treatment in the system with everybody else. So I'm continuing to get better at it. I'm educating myself, but I will say, and I said it in that speech, that I want to continue to be the change. I want to lead this charge of changing the narrative on the mental health, but also changing the narrative on there's no success stories in the foster care system. I want to change that, because there is. Yeah,
and I think it's probably pretty powerful, I would say, as a guy too, like, totally echo what you said. Like, sometimes it feels like, especially probably in our parents' generation, right? It's maybe gotten a little better now, but you're just not supposed to show feelings. It's a weakness thing. And then I think for young guys that get to see, a guy like you, who's a professional athlete, like the toughest of the tough out there, getting, tackled by these 300-pound monsters, whatever, but you're still willing to open up and express feeling and talk about mental health and all that. Like, that's probably, like you said, how you lead the change, showing through example. Is that what you see at this point?
100%. You see, for many years we've seen athletes slowly start opening up. One of my first memories is when Kevin Love and DeMar DeRozan came out with their moments, right? I think it was around COVID, or if not a little bit before that, but they spoke about their mental health and how things were hard, and that was new for them to come out with that. And so to know that they led that charge then, and now I'm in a position where I can lead it, it's all about just going out there and telling people what you really got going on.
So awesome, like, learning about all of this, your community work, everything you've been through, looking at football a little bit. So rookie year, great rookie year. You had success on the field. I know a lot of people don't always have super high expectations for rookies. You got to get adjusted to the league, a new area, all this stuff flying at you. So now you have one season under your belt, and not to mention you guys made it pretty far in the playoffs there. So year 2 coming up. How do you mentally prepare for that, and how do you kind of not allow for like a sophomore slump, right? Because like maybe rookie year you probably had super high expectations for yourself, but maybe other people didn't. And now that you've shown what you can do a little bit, how do you keep building on that?
Yeah, I'll keep this one short and simple. Just work.
Yeah.
That's just all it is. I don't want to talk about the things that I can or can't do.
Yeah.
I have my expectations. Now it's about just going out there and playing ball.
Yep.
But yeah, just work and control what you can control. I love my role. I love being here, and whatever gets put on my plate, I'm gonna just enjoy it and go out there and feel blessed that I get to keep putting on my cleats and my helmet in this Bills jersey to play ball. So we'll see what year 2 brings. But so far, I'm just looking at tomorrow.
Yeah.
And making sure I make it to workouts tomorrow.
Yeah. I think one cool thing with your room there too, between Ty and James and you, is like you guys all seem to sort of have like roles within there where you all still could be really productive. Mm-hmm. So was that a cool kind of experience for you your rookie year, to not necessarily go into a room where everyone, not that you're not competing, because obviously everyone wants to be the best they can be, but sort of to all excel in your roles on a team. And I think that's sort of your team as a whole standpoint, is you guys complement each other so well, and that's why the offense is as good as it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's always good to see your brothers eat. It's a term where we use everybody eats, right?
Yep.
And so it's always good to see the guys you go to war with, the guys you work hard, blood, sweat, and tears to get their success. And it's cool to see all of us enjoying that, and that's a reflection of our running back coach, Coach Skip.
Yeah.
He believes in us. He instills that confidence in us to go out there and just be us.
Yeah.
We all bring different skill sets to the game, but we're going to find a way to make sure your skills are displayed, right? So what we do on the field, that's what everybody sees, but majority, if not most of the credit goes to our coach, Skip, because without his preparation throughout the week, we wouldn't be able to be as comfortable as we are and excel in what we do without him. So shout out to Skip and shout out to all the boys.
Yeah. One more person we should probably mention is not officially a running back, but obviously Josh Allen's pretty good on his feet, right? I don't know if people know who that is. He's the MVP of the league there. But I remember last season there was a joke about he said how you guys were sort of mad at him because he kept stealing all the goal line punches. He's like, I think it was one of the games where James scored, and he said, I finally decided to give them one of them at that point.
Yeah, no, Josh, hey, listen, man, as long as we put 7 up on the board, doesn't matter who got it, right? But he can keep taking them, so then he can keep stacking up MVP awards, and we can continue to have the best quarterback in the NFL. So, but yeah, and I mean, we forgot one more other guy, Frank Gore Jr.
Yeah.
Come on, I mean, Frank Gore Jr. is a living legend.
Yep.
Obviously his dad, but what Frank did throughout his college career and being here in Buffalo. Yep. He's going to continue to just keep growing and elevating, so we can't forget about him. He's
and
definitely
Reggie too, right? Reggie, full back tight end hybrid.
Hey, Reg is a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
We need him to do anything, he will step up to the plate and get the job done.
For sure. Okay, so next up for you guys is training camp with where we're at in the off season, and I've heard all different theories and perspectives, and it seems like you guys genuinely enjoy going to St. John Fisher and Rochester. You're in the dorms, like it's like a true camp experience versus like the COVID years before you were here. There was a couple years where the guys practiced right at the stadium up there. I know you've only had one training camp so far, but sort of, did you enjoy it? Was it like being back in college a little bit with the guys? Like what's the whole training camp vibe for you?
Yeah,
like?
I mean, I enjoyed it my first year.
Yeah.
It was stressful, right?
Yeah, because
I'm a rookie, and you're up early. You're there late.
Right?
The food, and there's so many things you want to make sure your body's right. You want to look at your plays. Like, it was stressful early on, but honestly, I love it just because it gave us a chance to get to know each other, right? There's guys who are playing, card games. There's guys who are playing video games. There's guys who just chatting and talking downstairs in the recovery room. Like, you're talking to guys you never would have thought you would talk to because you're thinking, oh, you're a rookie and they're a vet. So during that time in camp, it's really just a camaraderie. It's a chemistry build, right? But it's also you're out there playing ball. So that I love that about it. The crazy thing is the fans. Like, that thing is sold out almost every practice.
So every public facing one.
That was the biggest like hurdle for me, because I'm like, if I mess up,
Everyone's watching.
So yeah, that's the only thing that was crazy. But other than that, I think it was just a great moment, and I like going up there. I drive back when we're off, so it's not that crazy to me.
Cool. So in getting towards the end here, I did want to ask you, like, looking back on your rookie year, quite a few special moments, I'm sure. Is there anything that sort of stands out? I know, like, you got to be part of an offense where Josh wins MVP, which is probably super cool for you to be on that offense and see your quarterback get that mention. But for you personally, was it like your first touchdown? Was it playing, like, was it a certain game? Is there anything? I'm sure, again, a lot of special moments, but one that stands out the most to you?
Yeah, I mean, Two of them, one of them really would be my first touchdown, but it had nothing to do with me scoring. It was really just a sideline. I tell the story a lot too. But we're on the sideline, we're getting down there close, and Josh and James comes over and they tell Skip, let the rook get one. And to me, I'm like, yo, this is Josh Allen and James both like telling the coach, like, let me get my first one. Like, I felt that, like, okay, maybe I've earned my stripes to them, right? Maybe that's awesome. they feel like I've done my part throughout my time here. So that was one of the most special moments for me, just because my teammates believed in me, my teammates vouched for me to go get it. And when I got it, you see James running on the field with no helmet, and he's making sure I got the football. Josh is making sure I got the ball. Everybody celebrated me that night. So yeah, the touchdown itself wasn't really anything special. It was more the celebrations and the excitement from the other guys.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, I think that's the cool nuance things that maybe there's no way a fan could know that because they're not there, right? They see you score and they're like, oh, that's cool, it's his first touchdown. But for you, it's like, it's not even the stat. It's like, it's the guys supporting me there. That's super cool. So we fast forward to this season. It's, a little bit unique in the sense that it's the last season. And I don't know if people can, watching here, you can kind of see the construction happening behind us there. But last season in the old stadium, and then you guys will be transitioning to the brand new shiny one up there. So, is there any, I don't want to say added pressure, because you guys, again, you set your own expectations. You want to win no matter what. But is it sort of cool to be part of history in the sense of, like, the last season in the old stadium as before you guys moved to the new one type of thing?
Yeah, I don't have that many great memories in there because it's my one season. So I definitely know for multiple other guys it's going to be kind of an emotional, probably roller coaster, just because you've been in this one place for X amount of years, and I mean, all we're doing is going across the street, but still, it's the memories and the moments. So for my one season being a part of the Bills, I mean, it's definitely it's crazy. I mean, to watch again Josh win MVP, to watch this O-line barely give up any sacks, to watch this O-line have 1,000-yard rusher, to watch just watch greatness at work. So to see those, and then some of those memories, scoring touchdowns and the crowd going nuts, that's going to forever be in the back of my head. And I'm excited to see what we do this upcoming season. I don't think there's any added pressure. I think there's just, let's go out there every Sunday and make sure that the fans get what they deserve, and that's a great football game and a stadium that could be the last time they ever be in.
Right. Did you was your first game actually here? Was it a road game?
No. Yeah, first game was here. We played I played the Cardinals. That was the first regular season game and preseason game. It was
so
here.
No matter what, you'll get to look back on that being your start on the NFL.
I'll get to show my kids someday, hey, you see that stadium right there? I used to score in there. I can tell them that.
That's awesome. Ray, super awesome to get to know you a little better. Like I said, I wanted to introduce you to the folks. Obviously, they know who you are, but introduce you as the co-host for this season. I'm really excited because coming up soon, we're going to have a couple podcasts with some of your teammates that are part of Team West Herr. So we already mentioned Josh Allen. We got Dawson Knox, tight end extraordinaire, and then your boy, I think Deion Dawkins there on the offensive line. We'll be joined by him as well. So going to have some cool interviews coming up there. We got some fun stuff planned for that. I think we're warming up our vocal cords maybe for some music trivia I think we're putting together. So that should be pretty fun. And then once we get through that, we're going to try to line up some special guests this upcoming season, have some fun reactions to the games throughout the year. So I'm super stoked again to have you join us this season. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I appreciate you. I'm definitely glad that I was able to come in and fill in for Reed. You guys will be seeing my face a lot more. I'll make sure that the beard is somewhat controlled and trimmed. Look a little bit more professional here. But again, I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad glad to do all the things that we get to do, and looking forward to it.
For sure. Well, thanks again for joining us, guys, listening, watching, wherever you are. We appreciate you tuning into the Team West Herr podcast. We'll catch you soon. For Ray Davis, see, I said it right. For Ray Davis, I'm Brad Gelber. Thanks for watching the Team West Herr podcast.